Today we're going to talk about the difference between the minimum effective dose and the maximum recoverable volume. These two concepts are basically dictating how much adaptation, how much performance enhance you get from the work that you put out. So if you imagine a line, and on one side of this line is no work at all, right? You don't put any effort into bettering yourself in any endeavor. And then on the other side of the line, it's you cannot physically, emotionally do more work. In this line, you can put anything, right? From physical training to learning a language to get better at painting, practicing a sport, whatever you're trying to improve can fit into this line, right? Somewhere in between those extremes, there is a green zone or a green area, however you're going to think about it. Say hi to Kyla. Where you start getting results, you start yielding the benefits of your work, and it ends at the point in which you can still improve from the work you put out without any repercussions, right? Without any downsides. So this green zone is where you want to be for the most part. So again, the line starts at you don't put any work in, so you don't get anything. And then if you walk a little bit to the right, I'm guessing, where I always imagine this line going from 0 to the left to the extreme on the right. So if you go a little bit to the right of the starting point is you do a little bit of work, right? The minimal amount of work. So if we take, for example, working out, maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you lift 10-pound dumbbells one time, right? And then the more work you put out, the more you start going to the right. Eventually you get to a point where you enter that green zone. That is the minimal effective dose, where I put in work and I improve from it. Because if I just go for a walk, if I just lift the 10-pound dumbbells once, probably I will not get any benefit from it because my body does not need to adapt from such a low stimulus. This is different from person to person, right? For some people, a 1-mile walk is going to be in that green zone, green area. For some people, it won't. So this is also N equals 1, right? It's dependent on each person. And as you enter the green zone, right, you put in more work, you get a little bit more benefits. You put in more work, you get more benefits. You put in more work, you get more benefits. Up until the point where you're at the edge of the green zone, which is I put in more work and I get the most benefits. Once you step off that green zone is I put in more work, but I don't get more benefits. Sometimes I even get less benefits. And then as you go to the right, that tends to go back down because you overwork. If you think about the two edges, right? The left edge of the green zone is the minimum effective dose, and then the right edge of that zone is the maximum recoverable volume. Just by the names of those edges, you should kind of understand what it means, right? And if you cross that right edge, you cross the maximum amount of work that you can recover from. And as we know, we only improve when we recover from a stimulus that we go through. So in any endeavor, like we talked about, this is going to apply. There's always going to be a green zone with edges on the side of not enough stimulus and too much stimulus. Now, when it comes to training, most people want to be at the edge of the right side, at the edge of the maximum recoverable volume. How much can I do where I don't get hurt, right? Because if we use training as a measurement, when you step off the maximum recoverable volume, one of the most real issues is chronic injury from overtraining and under-recovering. So most people want to be in that edge, right? What's the most amount of things that I can do to improve the fastest while not getting myself hurt? And this is a topic that I've covered in a few other podcasts where I talked about the idea of learning how to do less. Instead of thinking, what more can I squeeze and still be in this green zone, is think about, what can I take away and still be in the green zone? And the reason why I tend to go that way is because the less work you put on in the gym, the more time you have outside the gym. Not only time, but the more energy you have, the more resources you have, the more attention span you have, the less stress you have, because working out is a stressor, right? So I tend to, most of the time, go for what's the minimum the minimum effective dose. There are times, however, where I want to be at the maximum recoverable volume. And there are people that I want to be in a maximum recoverable volume. Some of that has to do with the intensity if I'm getting ready for something, right? So if I have a competitive athlete, if I have somebody in a sport where it requires a lot of intensity, then I might want to have them on the right side of the green zone, because they have to get used to being in an intense setting. They have to be used to being in a high stakes setting. And that's not going to be in the minimum effective dose. It's going to be in the maximum recoverable volume, right? If they have to perform under pressure, right? So if they're in any first responders jobs, if they're a professional athlete, if they have to deal with high stress, maybe in the finance market or anything like that, then it might be useful for them, not as much for the performance, not as much for the physiological adaptation, but for the mental aspect of being able to perform under pressure, to be on that right side, right? But for most people, being on the left side will guarantee that they improve while not making the gym the priority. Because for most people, the gym is not a priority. The gym is a means to improve the priority, right? I want to get in shape so that I can perform better at whatever. So I can feel better to do whatever. So I can emotionally be more stable so I can do whatever. So I can control my emotions better, so I can, be a better husband, wife, partner, friend, coach. The idea that most people want to spend more time at the maximum recoverable rate kind of shows the fallacy of having their purpose be connected to the thing they do in the gym, right? As soon as they start asking, what can I do more and still recover? What can I add to my training so I can recover faster, right? We're making it about the training and we're not making it about the progress, the journey. There are many things that people can work on that are outside the gym. So the longer I have them spend inside the gym, the less they're going to spend in those areas. Like I mentioned earlier, there are times where we want to be more one way than the other. And a lot of that has to do with things outside the gym, right? So if I'm at a place where in my career I have a project coming up, or I have a trip coming up, or I have some family something going on where it's very stressful, or if I'm going through a breakup, or if I'm going through some financial hardship, whatever the thing that's going outside the gym, if it impairs your ability to recover, if it gives you more stress than you used to, then by definition, that green zone is going to be a little bit smaller on the right side. That's the danger of being in the edge of the maximum recoverable volume, is there are things that may be outside of our control that are going to impact how well we can recover from all of it combined, right? From not only the workout that we do, but the stress that we're going through. Maybe if we're getting over a sickness or we're sick in the moment, right? That also impacts how much we can recover from. So maybe there are times, on the other hand, where I have an increased ability to recover from work, right? Work is fine, my relationship is fine, my job is fine, I have a little bit more time. Then it might be smart to pack in a little bit more work, live a little bit closer to the right side of that green zone, so I can reap a little bit more benefits a little bit faster. And this is how everything should be, this idea of being malleable, of being able to dial up or down the intensity of what we do. In nutrition, that should be the same, right? Most nutrition plans will have you eat across the board, right? Every day, these are your numbers. But if you think about food as fuel, right? The food that I eat only serves to make this body work, to make this body recover from stress, to make this body recover from illness, to make this body function properly. Then there are days that I won't need as much food. There are days I would need more food. Similarly, there are times where I can stress myself more in the gym. There's times where I don't, or that I shouldn't stress myself as much in the gym. All these things are dictated in an N=1 scenario. I can't give somebody else the same approach that I'll give to you because they're not in the same job, they're not in the same family, they're not in the same position. So not only what is your green zone from where it starts to where it ends, to even in what phase of life you're right now. Can you be more stressed? Can you be less? Do you have to be less stressed? All these are going to be impacted by who you are as a person and what you're going through right now. And that's why having a coach that knows you is the best way to go about improving yourself, is because these nuances can only be achieved, can only be examined, can only be analyzed having one person in mind. I can't compare you to anybody else. I can't use your numbers or somebody else's numbers to judge you. So this idea of minimal effective dose and maximum recoverable rate not only is something that's kind of abstract and malleable, and it might change from month to month, but also something that's very specific to you. So when we want to be in that zone, you're going to need somebody to figure out exactly what that zone is for you and a way to keep you there. So just wanted to explain a little bit of the idea behind the minimum effective dose, the maximum recoverable rate, and also what the importance of it is, how to know where it is, and even though that's very personal, but to understand that most of the time you need somebody from the outside to help you with that.